Hey, so today we're going to have a comparison of two laptops that I use. This is the Dell 2-in-1 7390 with an Intel 8550 Ultra chip, so it's meant for ultra portables. And this is an Asus Republic of Gamers Flow X13. This one just came into the market. It is May 2021. And let's look at their sizes. They're both 13 inches. This one is a 13, this one's like a 13.4. So we'll see slightly different sizes here. The Asus is slightly longer, as we can see here. It is also slightly thinner, where the Dell is thicker. The Asus is slightly thinner. So let's go ahead and take a look inside of these for a second. All right, so as we can see here, these are both the laptops turned on. We see there's light length discretion, the Asus being slightly longer. I wanted to make a review like this because basically when we look at laptops, we usually have one for a couple of years, and then we're looking to see if the upgrade is worth it. For me, I travel a lot, so I need something that's ultra portable, that I can sometimes hold in one hand. So these are both 2-in-1s. You can flip the screen 180, and they basically become like tablet-like. They're 13 inches, so that means that they could be easily like handheld in one hand. And I need something not only that it's ultra portable and has a good battery life, but that it's also able to render things. So I use Lightroom a lot. I take a lot of photos and occasionally do videos. No, I am not a blogger. No, I'm not an influencer. I just basically, as part-time, I'm a photographer, and I travel throughout Asia just to get to know cultures and people. I photograph them, and then I edit the photos. I don't do elaborate edits with Photoshop. I mostly just use Lightroom. So for me, it is very important that they're efficient. They're light, so I'm able to put them in a backpack, because I usually just travel with a backpack and my camera equipment and a couple of shorts and underwear and socks, and that's really about it when I go traveling. So yeah, they need to be up to the task at hand, and they need to be durable. So both of these are built with I think Gorilla Glass. Their screens are pretty solid. This one wobbles a little bit more. This one is pretty steady. But that also, the build quality on this also makes it heavier than the Asus. The Asus feels lighter to the hand. You could carry it like between your index and your thumb. With this, you need a little bit more strength to that, or I'm just weak. But yeah, so you definitely need to keep that in mind when you're, at least when you get into one of these. This is a Latitude. This is not an XPS. So there is a difference in build quality and peripherals and the things that come with it. This is, as I mentioned before, this one just came out. So let's see what the differences are for right now. All right, so they're pretty much squared away as far as the RAM. They're both 16 gigabytes. They both have 1 terabyte. I did upgrade the drives on both of them. This one has a Samsung 860 EVO. This one has a Samsung P991. So this one is a 2230. This one is a 2280. Both M.2. The differences are the 230 are really small, while the 280s are longer and I think slightly thinner. But yeah, this one carries an 860 processor by Intel, and it's right here. This is an 8th generation chip. And this, the Asus carries an AMD Ryzen 5800 with, and this is a GeForce 1650Q. This is basically if not the fastest, the second fastest chip AMD has on the mobile unit. I think the fastest one is the 5850. If you were to get the 5850 on this laptop though, it would be a completely different model. It comes with 32 gigabytes of RAM, but the screen then is 4K with only 64 hertz. Right now, this is 1080p or 1920 resolution, and it comes with 120 hertz. So it's definitely a big difference between, 120 hertz and 60 hertz. So let's see if I'm able to pull that up really quick. Yeah, so we see right here it says 120, the refresh rate, while the other one that's higher resolution, which is like 4K, only has 60 hertz. I'd rather take this, to be honest. It makes it more battery efficient. It also, I mean, I don't need to see the print that small, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, so here you guys have the major differences between these two. And next we're going to look at ports. I think that's definitely a very important area between these two, and there's a big difference between these two in ports. All right, so before we boot these up, let's see what each one of these has to offer as far as ports. So here we have the power switch, which I'm holding. It does have a fingerprint reader, so it makes it kind of efficient. It doesn't have hello or the multiple camera setup at the top when you log in, so you have to use your fingerprint. It's okay. Majority of the time it works. You have to make sure that you are at a right angle to do it. We have a USB 3, we have a USB-C, and then we have vents. We have vents because this laptop can run a little bit warm, but only because not only does it have an amazing 16-thread processor with 8 cores, it also has a discrete graphics. So here in the back, we have no ports. It's all for charging. It's all for ventilation. Here it sucks in air, and here it has air exhaust. And here, there's a plastic cover that goes here, but I don't know where it's at. It has already disappeared. But yes, and I usually tend to treat my devices fairly well. So this is for the new gaming port that they've created, which I did not have. I did not buy it because basically it's worth the same thing as a laptop, and I'm not really a gamer. I do game, but I'm not a gamer. So this is an extra USB-C at least that you're able to use, and this is like a PCI Express. And I think some of you, if you're looking at this laptop, you already know what I'm talking about. Here's the HDMI, if I'm correct, is 2. Here is a mic headphone port. And here is, I guess, a battery indicator that will let you know when it needs something. There's nothing in the front. You do have a right here just to lift up. Now, with the Dell Latitude, it does come with NFC. The fingerprint is right here, but to be honest, ever since I got this laptop, I haven't been able to make it work. It is still under warranty, and I should take it back once I'm able to go back to the States. I'll go ahead and do that. Let me take this plastic, because then it gets all over the screen. All right, so, whoa. All right, so here we have the power switch button. We have the volume up and down, which is actually quite nice to have that physically there. The headphone microphone jack. This one does come with a SIM tray, and this one comes with the SD card, and then you have a USB 3 port right here. On the back, there's a big ventilating fan, and in the bottom too, they have a couple of ventilators, but nothing really in the back. The hinges, it's very well made. It is a bit heavy, or at least it feels heavy. And here we have 2 USB ports, HDMI, and another USB. Here we also have a security card reader, but I've never used that. This laptop model came with it. Um, and I do love this. I do love the fact that if you have a stylus, you can just line it up and it attaches itself. A lot better than what I'm doing. If you have it set straight or flat, it will go ahead and do that. So that's a really nice afterthought. Not afterthought, but it's just really nicely implemented. One thing, I guess this one does have more ports. It does have the SD card, and it does have the SIM card. And that's something that I use for work. Since I travel, I sometimes just pop in a SIM card to my laptop, and I could work anywhere remotely and still get internet. I don't have to be attached to a coffee shop or anything like that. I do travel to Asia a lot because I live in Asia. And yeah, it's just convenient. Not all coffee shops have internet, especially if you go to a rural area. So yeah, as I mentioned before, the implementation of the stylus is actually pretty cool on the Dell. If you get the right model of stylus, it attaches itself, and it's pretty good on there. So it's actually quite difficult to move. One of the things that this laptop supposedly, or does have, is that it said that it was touchscreen and you could draw on it. It's not like a tablet where you could draw and make it your drawing device, but it has the capabilities to have the technology to do so. So I know that in certain models, Asus was selling this with their own stylus, but it really has nothing to hang on to. This is like, see how simple it is to move out. I wish that here is probably the nicest, but it's literally as soon as you lift the laptop, yeah. So, and you don't want to keep it here, to be honest, right? You're not going to use it like this. It's just going to move around. There's definitely no implementation on the side. I don't know. I think with the laptops like HP, Dell, and Microsoft, creating a spot for a stylus, whether it is creating magnets through the side, you could even put it on the top, right? Or on the other side. It seemed like they didn't think about it. That really sucks. Because I tend to use my pen a lot for correcting documents and editing documents with my hand. Also signing a lot of documents and stuff like that. So I definitely need a stylus that's with me, and I could depend on being with me basically at all times. And this is, like I mentioned before, this is like, oh, I pushed it really hard, but it still kind of stays in there. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed by that, and it doesn't come up with a stylus. I mean, this is worth $1,500 in the market. You would think that Asus would have added a cheap version of a pen, especially since it's a new line. They would have, included a couple of things, that or at least had it in their website where it says, hey, these are the compatible items with this pen, this thing. When I went to their website, nothing. I was lucky enough to find an aftermarket pen, which seems to work kind of okay. Well, it works fine. It's not okay. It works fine. And basically, it works for what I need it to do. So now I'm going to go ahead and plug these in so that way there's no difference in power. This one does take 120 watts. So it definitely uses a lot more power. I tend to travel with one of these guys. These are 100 watts each. This is Sendor and this is Hyper. However, I went ahead and I'm using the one that came with the Asus, which shoots off 120 watts. So that way there should be no problems as far as power coming from the power source. So it has full power. This one can be charged with a 45 watt, but I'll be juicing it up with 100 watts today, obviously up to max. So the laptop would adjust the power it wants to use, and this one will get the max that it can, which is 120. I think coming up next, they're gonna have like 240 or 200 watt power adapters and laptops, I think USB-C, I think that would be great. So yeah, it's just way more convenient to carry one of these boys with multiple outlets charging your phone, your laptop, and any other device than carrying just one of these big bricks that you're only able to charge one thing with. It's just really silly at this point in time and with the technology out there. All right, so let's talk about briefly about both of these. This one's camera is obviously like 3 years old, so this makes it okay in regular lighting, but if you have a really white background and there's light, you come out really dark. It doesn't adjust to you. So in meetings, if I'm sitting by a window and it's really bright out, it's not the best. I've noticed that the camera on this has done actually pretty good in adjusting to when I'm really by a window. I like to sit by a window usually. So it adjusts to my face, not the background. So that's one thing that I noticed that was definitely really, really good. Their keys, they were able to cramp a 15-inch keyboard, like a laptop keyboard, into here. And you can see how pretty nicely laid out it is. It does have dedicated buttons to the Asus gaming software suite to basically change the settings, muting, and basically and the volume. The rest here, you need to press the function key to get to reach these right here. And yeah, there we go. Let me see if I'm able to, there we go. So brightness, mute, color calibration, fan, screenshot, making the screen brighter or dimmer, monitor, sleep, airplane mode, and delete. And the rest is just basically the same. One thing that it doesn't have, it doesn't have a dedicated clicker. So you use one big mouse pad. While on the Dell, you do get the dedicated clickers, which is to me actually quite nice. I like that. And you do get a lot of here. You get your volume keys, your function keys, print screen, and stuff like that. And there's definitely a color difference for the FN key. So let's see if we can boot both of these up. I don't think I could do them at the same time since I'm only one person, and I don't have a tripod, unfortunately. But I could go ahead and try to turn these on. And let's see how they do. So they were like a second apart. This one was formatted about a month ago, the Dell. This one I just got it not too long ago. So even though this one was booted up a second afterwards, it was definitely faster than this one. So let's see if we can go ahead and get these up and running. All right. So currently, my biggest debate is not battery life, but to a certain extent that is important. But basically, the ability to travel with them and how comfortable they are for traveling, right? Let me go ahead and pull up this. All right, so here we have the Asus, and the information is basically, hopefully you guys will be able to read it. There we go. And here we'll have the Dell. So there definitely should be a difference in processor, right? We're dealing with an ultra light processor. And their software is basically the same. They've been updated as much as I can based on the manufacturer. It has the latest drivers. Same thing with this one. So to me, as I said before, opening Adobe is one of the things that I tend to use, Adobe Acrobat. Let me pull this up right here on this one. And I guess, let's see. All right, so they basically simultaneously just open. So that's pretty cool. There we go. So let's go look into Lightroom. I had to take screenshots because I didn't want the information to read out. One thing that I do like about this one, the Dell, is that you have an SD card slot, a micro SD. It doesn't matter, whatever. But you do get an additional extra storage based on the amount of, SD card gigabytes that you buy. So currently I have 128 gig drive in there. So that's an additional 128 gigs that I'm able to add to this laptop, with a maximum of, I guess a terabyte. So essentially I'm able to get 2 terabytes of information into this laptop, which to me is amazing. With this one, I don't. This one has no ports for an SD card. I would have to carry one of these at all times. It is small, but it's inconvenient, right? This one has it on at all times. I usually keep my music in here and less important documents. If I'm traveling, I'll put my already edited photos in a place like this and just leave more space for the main drive. All right, so I was able to download CPU-Z, and I'll go ahead and start over with the Dell first so you guys can get some of the information on this. So I know some of you are big techies and you like to look at all of this. Sorry about moving the camera. Memory. All right, here's the memory. I guess that doesn't matter, it's blank. Graphics, this one comes with the integrated graphics, Intel 620. And I haven't done any benchmarks on it recently because I deleted everything, but here you guys get to see basically, the main information for the laptop. Let's go over now to the Asus. So we could see definitely the biggest difference is that the other one had 4 cores, 8 threads. This one has 8 cores and 16 threads. So it's basically twice as much. So we should see a big improvement in performance as far as doing intense applications. We also see a difference here in memory where the Dell had DDR3. This one has DDR4. Definitely a big difference in frequency. It won't give us any readouts on this, that's okay. Don't really need to. Now here comes the graphics. Here comes basically the biggest difference. So this laptop comes with 2 graphics. It comes with the Nvidia GTX 1650. I heard that they might be upgrading it to like a 3000 series. I do not know, but that's what people keep on saying on the forums. And it also comes with the integrated graphics, which is still, to me, probably better than the current dedicated graphics that it comes with, the Intel 620, as far as using this AMD graphics, especially when they're 3 years removed, right? Core frequency. Yep. And I'll go back to the Nvidia. Alright, so yep, so that's about it. They're both CPU-Cs, the regular downloaded versions. This one is just made for Asus ROGs. So That's the major difference. So to me, as I mentioned before, I game lightly. The major games that I do use, or the main game, to be honest, nowadays that I do use would be Civilization. I don't do Warcraft or anything like that. And I do the occasional TF2. So that kind of that will kind of date me a little bit. But yeah, so those are the two systems that I predominantly use. But most of the stuff that I do is Lightroom. Lightroom is where I spend most of my life as far as doing intense stuff. And occasionally I'll do InDesign and Illustrator, but I don't always do those. So let's load these up. I'll start off with the Dell first, and then I'll move over to the Asus really quick, and we'll see if there's a major difference. You guys can kind of get these timed to see when they load up. Yeah, so we see that this one loaded up right away. The Asus has no problems loading up the work. They're both the same. I guess they loaded up in different sections, but they're both the same workload, if anything. Yeah, 34 photos. Let me see if I could get this going up. And this one has 34. It's just a different layout. But either way, they're both the same workload. We definitely saw a big difference between the load times on this. And now let's see as far as okay, so these are all selected. These are all, let me select all of these. Select all. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to export these, put them in whatever type of folder. These are already selected. I'm going to select all of these. Select all. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. All right, so I'm going to put these in their own folder, obviously. So test one, that's what I'll call these, so that way. Okay, I'm going to make sure that they're all in the same setting. So 15 megapixels. I use the Sony A7R4. So the megapixels on these are actually quite large. So this will mean that the laptop has to compress them. In fact, yeah, so that should take a little bit. And then we're going to do these in JPEG. Okay, and let's go here. So this will input them into their own folder. Quality is set to 100. Here we'll do, this is set to 16 megapixels. I'll go ahead and set it to 15. All right, so everything is pretty much the same. 100% quality, JPEG, sRGB. No other post-processing stuff. Yep. And here we'll do the same, 15 megapixels, JPEG, 100%. Limited size to, yeah, that I didn't check, so that's fine. All right, so they're both exporting into their own local hard drives. So let's see how both of these do in the face-off. I'll start off with the Dell, just because I have a feeling, I haven't done this test, I have a feeling that this will take longer just based on the processor. By the way, these are both, their profiles are set to whatever window has for them. Let me take off the Bluetooth here, and I'll take off any other type of things that this thing has. I'll take off location, Bluetooth, and I'll leave it on Wi-Fi since Both of them are on Wi-Fi, and who doesn't work with Wi-Fi, right? So we'll go ahead and do this. All right, as we can see here, nothing's up and running except Lightroom. Same thing as here. On here, I have Outlook. So let me go ahead and close Outlook up. Yep, that's the Outlook. Exit now. Okay, that doesn't really take any power whatsoever. This is the Dell management. That's okay. Internet downloader, Teams. I'll go ahead and quit Teams really quick. And this is the audio driver, antivirus, and the keypad, or the Dell, the mouse pad. And for here, whoa, we have the Samsung Drive, AMD software, Nvidia software, Teams. I'll go ahead and get off Teams really quick. Let me quit that up. All right, so it's only minor. One more extra software on one of them that should not make the difference either way, since it's running silently in the background. All right, so let me go ahead and pull this back a little bit. All right, so export and export. And this one took an extra 2 seconds to do. But let's see how they do. Even though it took an extra 2 seconds, the Asus is just just whipping butt. It's not set to performance either. It's set to Windows. So Windows calibrates the performance that it's running at. And let's see really quick. Task Manager. Yeah, so it's basically almost done already, which is amazing. While the Dell is still going. Let's see the performance key here. CPU is running at, yeah, it's done already actually. It just finished, and the Dell is still going. Performance. So it's either not optimized, or for some strange reason it shouldn't be on battery saver mode. But it is still going as far as the performance on it. Yeah, so still going. I guess I'll let you guys know. Whoa, that was way too close. So now it's almost done. Yeah, so now it's done. So we do see a big difference, even though this one started a lot quicker and I had like about 4 seconds dealing, 3 to 4 seconds selecting the folder because I had done it new. This one was like just miles faster than this one. They're both optimized to deal with their processor. So let me go ahead and show you guys really quick the settings, edit, preferences, general interface file, performance. There we go. So as far as performance, sorry about the finger there. It's set to automatically select between the dedicated driver, or the integrated, and the dedicated graphics. Everything for the most part should be the same. And let's go here really quick so you guys see that I'm not trying to show a big difference in it. Yeah, so everything is basically just the same on both of these. Yeah, so I'm just an average person though, right? I think most of us probably don't use Lightroom, or a lot of you don't. Most of you probably use Word and stuff like that as far as a daily software that you will use. For both of those, to be honest, both of these laptops work fine. I don't see why there would be an issue for anybody to use these really quick. So I'm trying to set this up. Yeah, this one, I thought I clicked on a document, but I guess I didn't. But it opens up pretty quickly. Sorry, that's the company that I work for. But yeah, I think obviously the Asus is a newer machine, therefore it would be a lot quicker to run. I'm going to try to run video game for you guys, and I'm going to try to see if I'm able to log in under the same account twice. See if I'm able to show you guys the difference as far as the graphics and the CPU. Alright, so for Team Fortress 2, it does give me an option of native 19 by 20, but I could run it up to 38 by 40. I've actually never done the setting because I've never had that option. So let's see how it looks, and let's see if it's playable to a certain extent. Whoa, that is ridiculously small. Alright, let's try to find a game, and let's see if we can do this. Start search, any game. Let me pause this. Alright, here we go. There you guys get to see my stats really quick. Borneo. Alright, never played this. I don't think I played this level before. Once again, like, I'm an old school gamer when it comes to this. I'm used to the first Team Fortress. Okay, I played this one before. Alright, so let's look at the graphics on this really quick. I'm able to move freely.
We have been awarded additional
Yeah, it actually looks really good. Yeah.
Building the sentry.
Yeah, so there you guys get to see a bit of that. I did try to do the net graph. The text is just so ridiculously small though, but net underscore graph 1 or 0. Let me see here. Yeah, I have it selected. I think, let me see if I can. Yeah, but for some strange reason it doesn't show anymore. I'm gonna have to see what's up with that, but let me go back to when it gets into a more intense area, when there's more gamers and there's more graphics going about. Yeah, but up to now, to be honest, it doesn't seem to be lagging whatsoever. Yeah, so let's see. Let's look at
You're all right, Doc.
I'm only playing with one hand, so it's, yeah. So it seems to be doing okay as far as the game and what it's able to handle. This, to be honest, this isn't a very intense game anyways. So let's see, I got killed there. As you see, there is no lag. I'm letting Windows kind of run this off by itself. But let me see if I can change the performance mode on this, and let's see if we can see that here. So now it's set to performance. I think you guys can hear the sound of the machine. So the fan does become audible, but it's not too drastic on this. So now that I logged off, let's try to see if we could run it on here. And this might take a couple of seconds. Games, view library. All right, and let's see if we get this. So, all right, so here we have the video layout. The max that I'm able to get on the full screen is 1920 by 1880. Well, we basically had twice the resolution in the other game. I mean, in the other laptop in Asus. So you definitely see a big difference in the dedicated graphics that are the Nvidia, at least, rather than in Intel. And we also see, well, the fact that it's dated a little bit when this is still an older laptop compared to a newer laptop. So, all right, so let's find a game here. Let's see how playable it is. All right, so here I am the same character, an engineer, but I have a different map. So let's see how it does when Alright, so the game is pretty playable, to be honest, but it doesn't have the fluidity that the other one had, definitely. And we can see we can see a little bit in the nice headshot. Boom. So yeah, obviously the other one I think had way better frame rates. I wish I could have like the net graph thing working. I've been trying to get that to work, but I haven't been able to. But yeah, so now we're gonna try, and obviously this is on the Dell. I'm gonna try to use Civilization, which is a CPU intense game. Though it does rely on graphics, it's not as graphic intense, and this is Civilization 6. All right, so here we have Civilization 6, and I'm gonna play with DirectX 12. And there we go. I'm using Epic Games for this rather than Steam. And let me see here. All right. Looks like it might be loading. Or just not loading at all, which sometimes that happens, unfortunately. And I think that's more on them than anything else. Oh, there we go. There it is. So this is taking quite a while. This is actually never really happened. All right, I'm done with that. We'll try on the Dell soon enough. I'm sure create the thing here. Let's do this here. And let's just look at gameplay really quick. So yeah, it looks pretty good for the most part. Once the game started to roll, it loaded up pretty quickly. Alright, so let me see if I could log into... Yeah, I do. Let's see if we could get into the middle of the game. Single player, play now. And
From the first stirrings of life beneath water to the great beasts of the Stone Age.
And here we're Brazil, the Brazilian Empire.
His first upright steps, you have come far. Now begins your greatest quest. From the...
Okay, so that's not really what I wanted. Let's see if we can go to main menu and do like a game in the middle of somewhere. That's ultimately what I would want to do. Single player. Let me see. Okay, this resume game should be alright.
From the first stirrings of life beneath water.
Okay, so here we have a fairly big. It's done okay. Right now, about over half the world is not discovered. However, I do have multiple players by the artificial intelligence playing. So we can see how long the turns take on this. Let's go commercial hub. Let's make some money. And let's see how long the... Usually the thing that's kind of difficult on this game is how long you have to wait before a move. And this is basically done right now. Oops, sorry about that. That ends up being the thing that takes the longest. The artificial intelligence creating its moves.
The purpose of education is to
So it
replace
took
an
about
empty
a good
mind
15
with an
seconds.
open one.
However, the graphics on this rotate pretty smoothly. You don't see the refresh rate like just waiting. By the way, the screen does come with 120 hertz refresh rate, while this one only comes with a 60. So that's also a big difference between the screen and the technology being used. Yeah, let's not do that. The Spanish are right next to me, and they were actually very upset at me. So we definitely want to set up an encampment somewhere, and I don't have the money for that. So we'll see later either way. But exit to desktop, that's okay. And now we're gonna go to the Dell and see how this performs. Alright, so I'm gonna choose DirectX 12. Sounds like a tongue twister. Sorry, I just woke up like about 40 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago. But yeah, so I did click play, and it seems like it's actually an issue with Epic Games where maybe it's pulling up the game and it takes a while for the game to kind of start loading up. So it's not an Asus specific issue. It seems like it's just an issue with the load up of the game. I think with the other one I had paused it, but we'll see how long it takes. It didn't used to take this long. It would just give you the graphic instantly, but I know that Civilization, as I said before, it takes its toll on the CPU. And I guess we could go ahead and see that really quick, if it does. Yeah, sorry about that. If it seems jumpy, it's because it's trying to focus in on something, and then for some strange reason it jumps. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It's taking its sweet time, so. Let's see, let's look at the processes. Yeah, it's been activated a couple of times as far as Epic Games. But let's look under S. Nope, nothing in there. Play, yes, that's what I want to do. I think the issue seems like it's more with Epic Games, to be honest, than anything else. I wish that this would load up a lot quicker, but I'm just going to pause it because this has nothing to do with the laptop itself, I think. All right, so I was able finally to get it up and running. It took a while for the game to load up, and I don't know if that's just the game or if that's just Epic Games, the way they're doing their launcher. But it's also a way one can test the CPU performance, I guess. But it just seems like just poorly written software. All right, so this is loading up a scenario that I had already played. And see where it kind of froze off. I also have replaced the CPU thermal paste with this with liquid thermal paste. All right, so here you can see a refresh rate when it started loading up. Doesn't load up as swiftly. The map on this one is mostly discovered, so there's definitely a little bit more of artificial intelligence playing. We see here that there is still remnants of the other screen. Let's go to game options really quick though. Let's look at the graphics on this. So everything is set to basically the same. The only thing that I didn't have is anti-aliasing. I think aliasing. Let's go, I think it was 4x. Let's confirm that really quick down here. All right, back. Return to game. So it doesn't scroll as smoothly as you think. Let's look at how long it takes for the moves to go. Let me see if I can get rid of that. It's annoying as hell. Especially since you can't really dismiss it, it just stays on there on the game the whole time. But definitely the game moves a lot better in the other one. I think there's a smoothness to it, whether it be by, whether it be by the refresh rate or just the combination of just more refresh rate and better GPU, to be honest. So let's log off of here really quick. Let me see if I'm able to do that. Okay, there we go. Asset to desktop. Yeah. All right, so while that does that, so when you click this button, you get the Asus Armory Crate software, which basically here you could override Windows settings and you could make it silent, performance, turbo, or manual. So right now it's set to silent, and we see that the GPU then works at a slower rate. So does the fans. They're basically set to 0 since it's not really working on anything right now. Let me reboot the Dell so that way it's fresh. I shut it down by mistake rather than pressing restart. So yeah, performance. We see that the CPU gets activated. The fans start kicking up a bit. And at performance, if I'm correct, it starts kicking up the Nvidia CPU. Since there's no frequency right now. Since we're not really using anything game intensive, we're not really seeing, I guess, the GPU kick in or the fans kick in really drastically. And let's see if I get turbo performance, which I had gotten before. There we go. Here we see the frequency automatically jump up, or it did jump up to like 4100. We see the fans also kicking up a lot, and we hear a bit. Here's second air a little bit. And then we have the manual settings, which here we can control the fans, the GPU performance, and stuff like that. Yeah. So all in all, I mean, for a 13-inch laptop, to be honest, this is pretty remarkable. The performance on this, the power overall. Though I ended up only editing 34 photos, and there were light edits because I don't really add too much to them. This was definitely far ahead when it comes to displaying graphics. It's definitely a lot more smooth, or smoother, if you will, than the Dell. They both do flip like a tablet. The Dell does have more bezel on it, on the top and the bottom. It's slide on the sides. While the Asus has very little bezel. Only at the bottom is when you see. Actually, it makes up for the one in the top compared to the Dell. And I think you guys can see slightly the difference there between them. Yeah, so let's try the drawing, if anything. Let me see if I can go to Paint. I did a fresh install of Windows on this when I first got it. So if it came with any drawing software, chances are I deleted it by mistake. But that's pretty simple always to find. So let's see if I'm able to get this going. The pen is turned off. Oops, that's why. Sorry about my finger there. Okay, there we go. Now it's on. So let's go ahead and get this activated. Okay, let me stay on the screen, focus on the screen really quick. And yeah, sorry, I can't write too much with this. And Paint isn't, I guess, the best indicator of a screen as far as when it comes to drawing, but okay, there we go. Focus on here. But it's pretty responsive as far as the screen, and when you have 140 refresh rate, it kind of makes it easy for anything to. All right, so this is erasing it if I'm correct. Nope, I don't have it to. Yeah, I do have it to erase. But yeah, I'm not the sharpest drawer, to be honest. So, but it's pretty responsive. If you're going to sign a document, you could go ahead and do that. I can't really draw, so sorry. Let's go ahead and try with the Dell, see what we get with this. Let me draw up Paint really quick. Yeah, there we go. There it is. And let's see If we can open this up really quick, there we go. Let's get the pen going. So it looks kind of pixelated. Probably that should not been going on. Let's see here. That seems to be a little bit smoother. There we go. So that worked out all right. Let's see here if we get the same brush going. I think I used this one, and let's see if we get a new one right here. Yeah, we don't want to save that. That was junk. All right, so yeah, see, so it seems to be pretty oh, there we go. I think that was more on me though. All right, so that looks a lot better than the other one, which was just pretty poor. Let's go with this really quick. It doesn't look as smooth for some strange reason, so I think I chose this one at the end. All right, so I mean, they both work great if you're going to sign documents, if you're going to do stuff. It feels like, even though this has a Wacom driver into it, it feels like maybe the Asus, due to the Dell Stylus does not work on this one. It seems like the refresh rate on this one and just the newer technology is just tad bit better for basic stuff. Once again, I don't really okay, so I thought I selected the eraser. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't think that implies to every single thing that you're drawing with. If you're a dedicated drawer or animator or artist, you definitely have your own suites of software and laptops that are dedicated for that. But I think with the discrete graphics this has, okay, there we go. I guess based on the strength of the screen, I'll go ahead and go forward on this. So here is me using the pen lightly, and here is me definitely pushing against it. So one can definitely see that there is it is pretty responsive to the pressure on the screen. All right, before it touches the screen, let me see. All right, so it is pressure sensitive. Let's try that with the Dell really quick. Don't save changes. New project. All right, let's erase some of this stuff. When it comes to selecting stuff though, it obviously seems like the Dell is a lot better. This pen is a Dell pen, by the way, so there shouldn't be any issues as far as connectivity. So let's see really quick. Yeah, I feel that I don't have to press as hard on the screen with the Dell pen. Well, with the other one, I had to press a little bit more firm on the screen for it to react. I'm not touching the screen here now. seeing, but yeah. Let me see with this one really quick. Let me erase all of this junk. This pen is not an Asus pen though, by the way, so I do have to note that. Maybe with an Asus pen, it would integrate better. This is a $20, actually it was more like, yeah, on 17, 15 bucks for it. So let's see. Yeah, so the sensitivity, it's not as sensitive as the Dell. But once again, I'm not an animator, I'm not a drawer, so I mostly just need it for signing documents and grading student papers and stuff like that. Well, with the Dell, it just, yeah. So not to make excuses though, but it seems like the screen on the Dell with the Dell pen, it's just a lot more useful if you're gonna draw and stuff like that. With this laptop, it's actually a lot more responsive than with the Asus. For the price that you pay, I pay 1,500 bucks for this laptop, and they want another 1,500 basically for the external GPU, which I'm not gonna pay for now. I'll wait a year until I hope it continues to sell, but if it doesn't, the GPU is going to be ridiculously cheap, and so will the laptop. So I'll wait till then to get that GPU if it does fail. The system, that is, because it's just very pricey to get both of them. I will look into later into buying a Asus Stylus. The one thing that I like about the Stylus is that you can charge it via USB, so it makes it easier wherever you are if you run out of batteries. Stylus pens usually use quadruple A batteries, which are rare sometimes to find, and they're not rechargeable. So that means that you put out more waste into the landscape, which I don't want to do. So ultimately, this is my review of these two portable laptops. Oh, and by the way, yeah, they both turn completely to the other side. Since they are tablets, they're 2-in-1s. I like the implementation more of the Asus. As we see, it lights more flat, while here you have this lump, and I wish that would have just done it backwards like Asus did. Also, by creating the screen this way, there is a small gap here. Sorry, that's for the keyboard. There's a small gap here for ventilation, for air to be sucked in, so it can leave the laptop pretty refreshed, or pretty fresh as far as cool air coming in, hot air going out. Well, in here, this is not an intense laptop. It has an ultra portable CPU, integrated graphics, so you don't run into an issue of running overly warm. This one can get overly warm, even hot, when you're gaming or you're doing intense graphics, but then again, it's expected. It's a 13-inch laptop with basically the insides of a 14 or 15-inch laptop. So yeah, ultimately, it's up to you what you would like to do with each one, with these. The Dell, I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this one and unplug this one. Let me make sure that the profiles are set correctly to Windows on this one. All right, so it's set to silent, but I'll go ahead and run it to Windows really quick. And let me log off of here really quick, so that way Windows dictates what it can do and what it can't do. And let me make sure that the profile, okay, this one's set to middle. And let's see this one really quick. Okay, so they're both set to the same power mode. Middle performance, middle of the road, middle of the road. Let me close this off really quick. I recently replaced the keyboard and the battery on this one, so it should be running top form. There should be an issue with either. So I'm gonna go ahead and no, don't change performance, damn it. So let me see what so they're both set to better performance automatically. That's pretty odd. So let me put up the power options. Would that bring it up? Why on battery would you go to? That is so odd. All right. So let's go to balanced. There we go. The screen does dim a bit. And let me go ahead and put the, there we go. Best battery life. That's where you should go to. And let me switch this to best battery life. So let me look at 6 hours and 8 minutes. That's what it says according to here. And according to the Asus, it's 5 hours and 51 minutes remaining. The Dell screen is a lot brighter right now, at a lot brighter setting. Let me turn this into halfway. All right, so let's see if we get any type of battery difference when it comes to moving this way. It should read out something like 9 hours. But I guess it doesn't. Yeah, so 10-minute difference on these. It's not a lot. Obviously, when one goes to battery saver mode though, the Asus goes into a pretty dark yellowish tint, while the Dell, since it uses another technology on the screen, it goes into like a bluer, cooler color, but not as dim. So just as a heads up, it probably uses or it uses different technology in general. But I don't think these things have refreshed their battery life. I think definitely it would have gone to like 9 hours. Well, they stay the same. Let me refresh the system. Yeah. So let me click refresh here too. Let's see if that works. Okay. Maybe I was too fast. Yeah, it hasn't changed the system. So I guess they're both staying where they're at. Nothing's changing between them for now. So with either one of these laptops, you cannot get a full workday of them out of them with their battery. You would definitely need to carry a charger. For the Asus, if you intend on gaming, you can carry a 100-watt wall mount charger or wall charger. But just know that if once you start using the GPU, the 100-watt charger cannot keep up with the demand of this laptop. You will need to carry the charger that comes with it, and this is a battery pack, sorry, that I was using for the phone. So you would definitely need to carry a 120-watt or higher wall charger to charge your laptop, or battery pack if you have one that's over 100 that can shoot out over 120, which I haven't seen yet. With the Dell, you could definitely use up to a minimum, of 45 watts to kind of charge it as you go. It does discharge slightly, but it still holds a charge. So that means that you're able to get more than the 6 hours that it says. Well, now it says that I could get 12 hours and 36 minutes out of this. And this one still hasn't refreshed. It still says 5 hours and 51 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, this is definitely less power hungry than the Asus. However, for me, I don't really work that long out and about. I usually have a wall charger with me. or a battery pack. My battery pack has an output of 100 watts. So as long as I'm doing word processing and stuff like that, there's not really an issue with this laptop. The only thing that I use on a regular basis that might be power hungry will be Lightroom and the occasional Civilization game that I do play. But I rather do that at home rather than going out to play video games. I find that just kind of silly. So yeah, I would, between these two laptops, it has become very hard to me to get rid of one or the other. I do like the fact that this has more peripherals attached to it, more ports. You have the SD card where you could expand the memory for only a couple of bucks. Or if you do go for a terabyte, a couple of $100 maybe, you do get the SIM card. So it does come with integrated network, which I do use, as I said before, when I travel sometimes. It does come with an extra USB 3 port, which I find really, really useful, especially now since I was using a mouse with this one, and then I needed a regular USB 3 with this, and I was like, oh crap, I don't have another port. For an external hard drive. It's either one or the other. So that forced me to buy a Bluetooth mouse next, which I should be getting soon. For this one, we do get the multiple ports. I just kind of shut it off. We do get the multiple ports, which is kind of nice. We also have the two USB ports here. USB-C, which is kind of nice. The extra USB and the HDMI. Both of these do have full HDMI though, which is not an issue. And I wish the Dell didn't have this here. They could have, the smart card, they could have definitely allotted for an extra hard drive. And that definitely would have been the winner for me with this one. Hands down, storage, especially when I'm traveling and taking photos. The Sony A7R IV is 61 megapixels. So you definitely need all the storage you can get. And it's cheaper to buy two 1 terabytes than it is to buy one 2 terabyte drive. So in that respect, yeah, it's just very, very difficult choosing between these two laptops. This one is still going on 100 strong. So I don't think it's going to change. I don't think it's going to change anything until it goes down to 99, where it recalibrates itself. So yeah. And I could try to see when that happens. I don't want to force it. But obviously you're not going to get 12 hours out of this one. That's just basically just leaving it on standby, and it will increase, I guess. But just having it on and using Word, you do get about 6 to 7 hours on it. But we're not only going to use Word, we're going to use Chrome, we're going to use videos, we're going to use music, apps, and stuff like that. So the battery life will go down drastically once you start using it. With this one, the same thing. Once you start using it, and once these multiple cores start all shooting off at the same time, you're definitely going to see a drastic decrease in battery life. So you have to play with the power performances and make sure that it's best for you. If you're going to do word processing and stuff like that, change the power performance to something like Windows or silent. That way the cores do not waste the battery life. You don't need to have all 16 threads working to open up Word. You can easily have 2 or even 1 core working on Word, rather than having it set to max. So that's something to kind of get on. Obviously, they are different technologies. This is a lot older than this in computer terms. This is about 3 years old. This is literally off the market. You can't even find these out and about. So, okay, so then it says 10 hours and 1 minute. And I think they have about the same battery life. No, this one has more battery capacity than this one. So it is a more power hungry system. And this one does have the Samsung Evo 860 hard drive, which is known for its power efficiency. This one does have the Samsung P991, and as I said before, it's micro. It's not micro. It's 2230, which is really small compared to the 2280, which is a lot bigger. The 2280 has a better memory controller. The 2230 basically doesn't have a memory controller attached to it. So that's also a big difference in drive performance. This one is slightly faster than this one, but only by a little bit, not too much. But yeah, I hope this review helps you guys on your decision and what you will come up with. I'm still kind of torn between them. I'm thinking about keeping them both, using this one more as a entertainment unit at home while traveling for regular short distance work here. When I travel to different countries, I think I might take the Dell just due to the fact that it has the SIM card capabilities on it, and I'm able just to work remotely rather than using my phone's battery as a hotspot. I would rather just have an independent laptop attached to it rather than carrying a USB dongle or one of these Wi-Fi units things that could get lost, and it just adds more weight to everyday life. When I travel, I'm very minimalist. I usually just have a backpack and my suits in one hand and my backpack that I travel with for daily attire. I carry my laptop and my camera, which is actually right there. And obviously a headset. But yeah, that's about it. I know it's not a hardcore comparison, but I know that for most of you, you don't need to read all that data. You just want to see it out and about in the wild being compared to something that you're debating with, whether to get rid of your older technology to a newer technology, and if that newer technology is beneficial to you. So thanks for watching, and yeah, thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead and also do a video now on the cameras on each one of these. So for some strange reason, when I look at the camera here though, it's a lot darker when I see it in person. The video does make it brighter for some strange reason, but we can see though that the Asus has a brighter representation, I guess, of what it's capturing. So the settings are both the same. So it's 0.9 megapixels, which is ridiculous for a laptop this expensive. My tablet that's worth like 1/3 of this has a way better camera, has like an 8 megapixel front facing camera. This doesn't even have basically what it feels like. Yeah, it's not acceptable, period. 720, this is for videos and 60 hertz, but for photos and stuff like that, it's, yeah, not even a megapixel. Everything else remains the same on this. I do have it set to a pro settings. Yeah, and this is what the image looks like. Now I'm going to go to the Dell really quick, post up the settings, and it's basically the same thing. This is kind of expected though, because this is an older laptop and video wasn't that big of a thing. It was, but people didn't really care about video quality. Well, now we do. Everything is being done online. A lot of people's work around the world have become remote. So yeah. So when we look at these, I mean, look at my eyes, how dark they look. They look like I haven't slept in days or I got punches out. While in here, you can definitely see my eyes a lot clearer, right? That's especially very important if you're talking to people or clients. You want them to see you, not just kind of like squint and see like where are you. It also means that it requires less light. Everything is a lot more visible, and if you're in a room that's not very well lit, you don't see any ghosting or as much ghosting as you would with this type of camera. So that's something also to consider while you're looking or hunting for a new laptop. It's their cam capabilities. I think up to now, the Microsoft Surface might be the best line. I think they have 5 megapixels on these things here. This one doesn't also have a privacy shutter whatsoever. Neither does the Dell. I think the Surface doesn't either. There might be very few laptops nowadays that have a privacy shutter, which all of these, once again, by now, especially if you're paying $1,500 for this, or you're buying a business laptop, especially a business laptop, they should come with this already installed. It should not be, it should have a better camera, and it should also have a privacy setting, or at least just a little switch that you could add on to it. We shouldn't have to go hunting for these whatsoever. Even my phone, which is cheaper than this laptop actually, has a way better camera, 20 megapixels and 5 megapixels up front, or 8, I think. This, it's just too ridiculous, especially for this, for the Asus, which is a newer laptop with amazing, it's supposed to be state-of-the-art technology, and it doesn't.